All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I'm going to be going pretty quickly through this information. It is a YouTube video, so please feel free to pause it, go back and replay it. I'm going to try to get to the slides quickly. Snowshoe, the ski resort is named after the snowshoe hare, which is a rabbit that is native to the region. Its fur turns white in the winter. It's got large feet that act as kind of snowshoes to help it manage on top of the snow. Maybe we'll see some while we're there. The purpose of this presentation is to give you the information you need to make an informed decision at the end. We do need to make decisions in this month of April, so if any questions are not answered, feel free to ask in the Slack channel or contact me directly. But we need to get you everything you need so you can figure out what you want to do. In the background, that is a picture of Snowshoe of the top of the mountain where the mountain village is. We're going to go look at this at a high level about Snowshoe, and then later get into a detailed look that'll have all the pricing and all that specific information you're looking for. The picture on the right is of the snow tubing area, which is in Silver Creek, which is a portion of the resort. We'll look at some maps and I'll explain the difference between the main mountaintop versus the Silver Creek area. So we're looking at particular dates. They were chosen strategically. That Sunday, January 29, and then checking out on Friday, February 3rd. That's 5 nights. That is in the best time of year with regard to the weather. Most favorable conditions, most snow on the ground. That's what you want at a ski resort. The worst time to go to any ski resort generally is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is January 16. So we're not going then. That's when you have a lot of crowds. We're also going midweek. The rates are lower during the week than they are on the weekends. So we're going great time of year, great weather, low prices, low crowds, very strategic. The primary activities, the tubing, skiing, snowboarding, but there's also other fun things like the swimming and the snowmobiling. We'll get into all that. So a little background. The mountain itself is actually called Cheat Mountain, and it was formerly a location where logging companies would come and harvest spruce and fir and pine trees and whatnot, but about 48 years ago, a dentist from North Carolina turned it into a ski resort. And one benefit of Snowshoe is that it gets a lot more snow than other locations in that region. As you can see, about 180 years of snowfall each year. It's pretty reasonable altitude. 4,800 feet is really not bad. A lot of people call it the best ski resort in the mid-Atlantic. So looking at this map, you'll see that Snowshoe is very much on the east coast where we are near Florida. It's about 10 degrees almost due north. And if you look at my horizontal blue line, you'll see that in a sense it's comparable to going to a Colorado ski resort, just with regard to the fact that it's similar distance north, but it's much closer to us because it's so far east. We don't have to travel over 2,000 miles to get there. The metrics. So if you were wondering what snow skiers and boarders look at when they're choosing where they're going to go, those kind of 7 categories on the left are important things. Regardless of your interest in skiing, everyone can appreciate the village, which is on the top of the main mountain, pictured on the right. We'll talk more about the village in a little bit, but for now I just want to point out that Snowshoe has 257 skiable acres. You want more acres, the more the merrier. The less kind of population density you have, folks can spread out, and it's a reasonably sized park where we can have some fun. So to give a little comparison, if you look at those metrics on the Snowshoe column, one might ask, why don't we just go to a resort in North Carolina such as Sugar Mountain? That's also in the same kind of region. In fact, a little bit closer, as you can see on the distance down there in the bottom row. One difficulty, though, is that you're not guaranteed to have snow. I once planned a trip to Sugar Mountain, I think it was 2016, in January, and I had to cancel it 2 days before because they couldn't keep snow on the ground. It was too warm. Snowshoe is further north and has more reliable snow. It is about twice the size as far as skiable acres as well. And if you felt like going beyond Snowshoe further, you go up to Pennsylvania to Seven Springs, but you'll notice if you compare those numbers, it's really not any better than Snowshoe. It's not notably larger or higher altitude. It's just kind of farther away. So you'll see that Snowshoe is in the Atlantic region, and in the region that's really drivable for us. Snowshoe is kind of the best. If you felt like going over 1,000 miles, you could go all the way to Vermont and you'll see that those ski resorts tend to be larger, have more skiable acres and more snow. And if you really wanted to go extreme, you could head out west, the Rocky Mountains, over 2,000 miles away, and you'll see that it's common for them to have mountain peaks over 10,000 feet of altitude, tons of snow. Park City there, the one on the far right, that is the largest ski resort. It's got the most skiable acres of any resort in the U.S., 7,300 acres. So you can see how Snowshoe kind of stacks up. And one thing to realize is this is partially why Snowshoe is cheaper. It is not a huge facility or a huge ski resort. The folks who are really thrill seekers and experts are going to be likely going other places, but it's perfect for us. And it's far enough north to have reliable snow. It's big enough to be fun. It's much more affordable than those more extreme resorts, and the terrain is not too intimidating. It's very agreeable to children and beginners. We're not going to get altitude sickness at only 4,800 feet. It just seems the best option for a cornerstone trip. So how are we going to get there? You've only got two options. You can drive or fly. If you want to drive, it is going to be about 13 hours, but perhaps longer depending upon what stops you might want to make. I did some math there. It looks like it'll be between 1,600 or maybe 2,000 miles on your car. If you're considering gas at about $4 a gallon, you can see, depending upon what vehicle you drive, you might be spending between $200 to $500 in gas round trip. I did point out there on the bottom left, there's a number of options, places you might want to stop either on the way up or back. Asheville, North Carolina, or we could see our beloved friend Pastor Luke up in Virginia. So consider those things too, but again, I doubt you're going to go over 2,000 miles, so that gets you your fuel cost. But what about the option of flying? A wise, short little man once told me that if you're going to fly to Snowshoe, it's mandatory that you rent a car. And that's because there's no airports close to Snowshoe. As you can see on this map, the closest airport is still over 2 hours drive away. And so you'll have to rent a car. The good thing is that the flight is really like 2 hours on the dot. It's a short flight to get up there into that region, but then you got to rent a car. So the airfare, depending upon if you nab it at just the right time and which airline, you might get it down close to $100 a person. It might be more like $300. And my little analysis here, I assume $250 per person. I'm building up, how much it would be for the Burchetts. And so if we want to fly, we would have one child under the age of 2, but otherwise we have to get 5 tickets and then rent a car when we get there. And it's going to be about $1,700 for my family if we want to fly, maybe a little bit cheaper if I can do a better job getting airfare at a lower price. But so then I have to compare. Would we want to drive and spend around $300 in gas, or do I want to fly and spend another $1,500 or so to have this trip go from being 17 hours each way down to only about 5 hours each way? I don't have to make that decision now. I'm not going to actually. What I know is that I want to go on this trip, and I'm going to worry about the transportation decision in probably 3 to 5 months from now. So let's talk about activities. When we get to Snowshoe, there are a lot of options to have fun there, and it's extremely family friendly. You get to pick what activities you want to do. They're all optional. None of them are mandatory, and really all that's required is that you pay for your lodging and transportation. Everything else is up to you, and you don't have to choose now. Those decisions are more kind of locked in on the last week, like 1 week out, so you have a long time to think about what you want to do. I have a suspicion, though, that almost everyone is going to be interested in snow tubing, which is only about $15 a person if you're booking with us through our discounted group rate. This snow tubing, you have to be a minimum age of 4 years old, but it is a blast. I've heard great reviews about it, even from Cornerstonians who've been before, and so I'm looking forward to that for sure. We talked about snow tubing, so what about snow skiing and snowboarding? You can choose how many days you pay pretty much per day. So if we're going to be there 5 nights, that means we're going to get 4 full days there. Maybe you just want to try it one day. Maybe I'll probably go for all 4 of those days. I'll probably buy lift tickets and whatnot. But you can see in my little table on the bottom left, children are a little bit cheaper than adults. These prices are approximate. They haven't released the official pricing, but we will get about a 25% discount on lift tickets because of our group because we're a group and we're lodging as a group directly with Snowshoe. And the prices you're seeing is my estimation based on what I know right now. Just to give you a ballpark, maybe it'll be off by something like plus or minus 10%, but you need a way to get down the mountain, you need a way to get back up the mountain if you want to snow ski. So if you want to get up the mountain, you need a lift ticket, and you can see what the approximate pricing is for a one-day lift ticket. Just to give you some perspective on that, I went to Big Sky, Montana a few months ago, and lift tickets for adults cost $190 per day. And so Snowshoe is very affordable. It's about $60 a day for an adult. Then you need to rent gear, so you have a way to slide down the hill, and you put that together, you're less than $100 a day per person. And again, you can choose how many days you want to do that, and how many people in your family are interested. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the split rock pools. This is a partially indoor, partially outdoor pool. Obviously, yes, it is heated, very delightful for children. They also have heated hot tubs outside in the snow. It's really cool. It's located in the main village on the top of the mountain, as you can see on this map in the bottom right. It is actually adjacent to the Allegheny Springs, the Allegheny Springs Resort, which I'm going to propose hopefully that we stay there, but there are other options I'll talk about as well. It is free. What that means is that every night we stay there, we're all charged a resort fee, and that resort fee covers access to the split rock pools as well as a bus service that will transport you around Snowshoe. So with regard to dining, we will be staying mostly really in condos that come with a kitchen. The kitchen doesn't come with food, but the recommendation, I plan to bring food in. There's a Walmart about an hour and a half out of town. I'll be bringing food into town. Of course, I'm sure we'll eat out a few times, but the point is you can spend as little or as much money on food there as you want. It's not required for you to eat at any restaurants. If you want, you could buy food at Walmart and eat exactly what you would eat if you weren't going on the trip, so I'm not really counting that as a cost. It's going to be whatever you want to make it. Snowmobiling, I got to go snowmobiling just a few months ago. I can't tell you how fun it was. I highly recommend it if you're interested and have the means. They do have snowmobiling tours. It's about a 2-hour tour for $160. You can put 2 people on the snowmobile, and if you're a parent, you can bring your child. I can't recall exactly what the age limit is. I think even down to age 9, you can put like your 9-year-old on the back of your snowmobile. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have fun doing this. Highly recommend it if you're interested. Okay, so let's talk about the mountain itself. This is their official winter trail map. You can find it on their website. So I already mentioned the groceries. Again, this is in Lewisburg, West Virginia. It's about 1.5 hours out before you get in. I recommend you stop, because once you get into Snowshoe, there just isn't a whole lot there. There are restaurants and some little kind of like convenience stores, but you're not going to get a full grocery store there. Snowshoe is a ski resort. It is kind of distributed, as you can tell. These little blue circles that say B in them, those are the bus stops. So again, a free bus that will shuttle you around, but we have to choose where we want to stay, and there's lodging at really all those different locations, so we'll talk about that. There's kind of 3 options with lodging. There's Top of the World over there on the far left, which I put in red. There's the main village area on the top of the mountain, and there's Silver Creek. We're just going to kind of X off Top of the World. It really doesn't have anything we want. It doesn't have the snow tubing. It doesn't have the split rock pools. It's not even the cheapest option. It's just not really worth our time. So we're going to talk about the main village on top of the mountain in Silver Creek, talk about where we want to stay at. So on the main village, you have the shops and restaurants. You have the split rock pools that we talked about. You also have the majority of the ski runs. Most of the skiing is over there, and also the bunny slope. If you've never been skiing and you want to, you will start at the bunny slope. That is the easiest, most gentle, simple slope designed for children and beginners. And that bunny slope is located over there by the village. It's where it says Skidder. If you can see my mouse, there's a Skidder, like a red line, in that yellow area. That's the beginner area. It is right there adjacent to the hotels, to the Starbucks, to a lot of things that would be of interest to us. And so there's a lot of incentive, if we can, to stay in the village. It would be very convenient to have those things consolidated. Over at Silver Creek, though, that is where the snow tubing is. If we stay at the village, We will obviously probably ride the bus over to Silver Creek. It's like an 8 or 10 minute bus ride, and we can do the snow tubing over there. They do also have night skiing. The ski slopes they do have, they're lit up kind of like the lights you see on a soccer field. The main mountain does not have night skiing. So if we stayed at Silver Creek, it would be cheaper. The snow tubing would be right there, and we'd have night skiing right there. But it would be kind of challenging to ride the bus over to the village. We'll get into that a little bit. Silver Creek, again, it's going to be the cheaper option. The condos were built in 1988. There's only one condo building over there. There's only one shop. There's only one restaurant. It's not in as much demand as the village is. The village has nicer and newer condos, like Allegheny Springs was built in 2001. There's more shops and restaurants. It's on top of the mountain, so you get mountain views. That's where the split rock pools are that we discussed, and the bunny slopes. There's more going on at the village for sure. Just to give you like a visual of what we're talking about, Silver Creek on the left over here, that's the one condo building that's there. Allegheny Springs, there's numerous condo and kind of hotel buildings up there on the top of the mountain, but Allegheny Springs is one I'm going to focus on. Your room at Silver Creek, this might be what you'd see on the left. On the right, you're on the top of the mountain. You presumably would have some enjoyable views. There's your night skiing at Silver Creek, but then on the right, this is a picture of the bunny slope. You can see there in the village, in the background, all those buildings, and then the bunny slope is maybe something like 400 yards. It's very short, very gentle. You ride to the bottom here, and then you ride this lift back up. Again, it's a short lift. This is just a great area to learn how to ski. This is where I plan to take Trinity, Silas, and Isaiah and try to get them on skis and feeling comfortable, teach them how to use the lift. And I can tell you that when you go snow skiing, there is a learning curve. You have to get used to wearing your cold gear. You have to get used to clicking into your ski boots. You have to remember how to scan your badge and get on the lift. Whenever I go out there and I have Trinity and Silas, and if they say, "Oh wait, I forgot my hand warmers in the room," it would be really convenient to be able to run right back to the room and grab them instead of having to ride the bus 15 minutes back over to Silver Creek to get whatever they forgot. And similarly, I think there's a lot of value because of how many of us are going to be first-time skiers staying here in the village with close proximity to the bunny slope and to the market, to the restaurants, to the Starbucks. I think that that really would be of value to us. It's going to make the trip go more smoothly instead of staying in Silver Creek. Silver Creek is still a great option. I'm still going to present it as an option, and it is more affordable. So there's your split rock pools. This is the outside portion. You can see there's like steam coming off of it. There's a slide. Silver Creek, they do have a pool there. It's just not the same. To give you a feel, neither facility is like a Ritz-Carlton, but again, the Allegheny Springs is probably going to be a little bit nicer as far as the quality of the room you're going to get. So let's talk about pricing. Let's just pick one room to talk about as a case study. I've got this green box around a studio condo at Silver Creek. So here's what that price buildup would look like. The standard rate, if you go right now on snowshoemountain.com website and you look at Silver Creek studio condos, it's $129 a night. But we're getting a 20% group discount rate, so that brings it down to only $103 a night. You multiply that by 5 nights. There's a mandatory resort fee that also applies each night. Then there's a cleaning fee if they charge at the end because you don't get room service every day. It's just once at the end. You put your taxes on it, you get $820. And so there we go. So again, what does this mean? $820, that is the full total final cost of that room for 5 nights, including all fees and everything, okay? And the real truth is actually $812 in some sense, but I rounded up to $820 just so your brain can process, because there's going to be a lot of numbers in this grid. So I did the same with all these. I rounded up, but you can see if you want a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I know that for the Burchetts, that would be really helpful for us to go for a 2-2, about $1,600. Again, that's for 5 nights. This is in Snowshoe. This is at Silver Creek, right next to the snow tubing and on the slope. You can go look across the country at rates in January 2023 at other ski resorts and see what you're going to pay. You're going to be hard pressed to find anything cheaper than this. So, if we want to stay in Allegheny Springs at that condo facility at the top of the mountain, then here's what your pricing is on that. They do have like really they're like hotel rooms that helps bring the cost down if that's suitable for you to stay in a hotel room. So then you can see it's another couple $100, 300, 400 bucks, depending upon what you're looking at. If you want a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom to stay there. And I've already mentioned the benefits of the location, the shops and restaurants, the split rock pools. To me, I would say it would be worth it, but we're going to consider all the options. There is a third option, and the third option is we could still stay on the mountaintop village, but not necessarily stay in Allegheny Springs. Instead, we would kind of stay at a hodgepodge of different buildings there. And you think, why would we do that? Well, it's because if you're looking for the cheapest 1-bedroom, 1-bath, it's in this one on the right. But if you're looking for the cheapest studio, it's on this one on the left, okay? So I pretty much went through and got all the cheapest rooms on the Mountaintop Village, and I'm calling it Village Distributed, okay? And so you can see that it's kind of a medium, kind of a compromise. It's cheaper than Allegheny Springs, but it's more expensive than Silver Creek, all the way down the board. And so there is a premium you're paying to be staying on the Mountaintop Village and have all those benefits and the mountaintop views. But if the financial aspect is really difficult, an option is to not stay in Allegheny Springs, but instead to stay in a cheaper version, still on top of the mountain. So there's your matrix right there. Those are your costs. That's the full cost for lodging for 5 nights. Okay, it doesn't include transportation, and it doesn't include food, and it does not include the skiing. It's just the lodging. If you are interested in more than 3 bedrooms, there are options for you as well. The difficulty is that 20% group discount rate can only be applied as their policy to 3-bedroom units and smaller. So there's a little bit of a price step up to go to a 4-bedroom, but really this 4-bedroom townhome, this is like a 2,000 square foot unit or something, maybe even a little bit bigger. $3,000, and this is on top of the mountain. This is up by the Mountaintop Village, so that's really it's a respectable deal as well. You can even go all the way up to an 8-bedroom, 8-bath unit, whatever you want. There is a little bit of exponential growth in the price, though, as you can see. So now let's look at a total cost buildup. What does this mean? Putting it all together. Well, let's say that you're a precious married couple that maybe doesn't have 4 kids yet, and so you're going to drive in your sedan. You're going to stay in like one of those junior studio rooms at Allegheny Springs, and you're going to do some snow tubing and skiing. It might come out to about $1,800. That's not including food prices, but it really is including everything else. So for the Burchett family, if we choose to drive, I did a 2-bedroom, 2-bath there at Allegheny Springs because that's where I'd like to stay. And with the snow tubing costs, Genesis won't be able to snow tube because she's under the age of 4. And so I'll probably stay back with her. Caroline will take the other 3. It's 4 people. And then the skiing, so it might come out to about $3,700. If you are a Cornerstone veteran family and you are driving a big rig and maybe you've got something like 7 children, then maybe you'd be looking closer to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending upon how you want to do it. Feel free to pause the video, look through my numbers of how I got this $4,700. Okay, so the decision that I'm asking you to make, please think about this. We do have a few weeks, at least a couple weeks. 4/22, I really would like to see everyone's feedback, but here are the options, right? The first 5 is saying, I want to go, and then here is my lodging preference. The 6th one is that you're not going. I hope that everyone chooses one of the options 1 through 5. But in the case that you're really not going to go, please take the time to say that you're not going to go. So for those who are going to go, I'm very excited about seeing you there. I put the first one, I prefer to stay at Allegheny Springs because I think that would be the most suitable, most enjoyable, best value to our group. But if you look at it and you have concern over it for whatever reason, there's the other options, and we can all still have a great time doing something different. So please just post in the Slack group in the poll and let me know which lodging accommodation you're most interested in. So if you could, please make that decision in the Slack poll by April the 22nd. There is a $500 payment required on our part as a group to reserve these rates. We have to make that payment by the end of April, or else our 20% discount rates are no longer valid. So I put this due date of April the 26th. If 10 families all put $50 down, then that covers the $500. So the good news is that you do not have to pay for this trip until about 8 months from now. You do not have to pay for the lodging until December. So $50 now, you've got 8 months to save up money. And then the actual money spent for like the activities, the tubing and all that stuff, that is not going to be till January. So you've got a lot of runway. And in the meantime, you can start thinking about what activities you're most interested in, watching other YouTube videos, talking with your kids, figuring that out. So please make your decision in the Slack poll as soon as you can. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm very excited about the trip, and I hope to see you there soon.